What if I told you that your mind could be manipulated without you even realizing it? Dark psychology is all around us, influencing the way we think, behave, and make decisions. It's hidden in casual conversations, social media, advertisements, and even the people we interact with daily. Master manipulators use these psychological tricks to control others, often without their victims ever becoming aware. The question is, are you ready to uncover these secrets? Dark psychology refers to the use of manipulation, persuasion, and influence to get what someone wants, often at the expense of others. This can range from subtle techniques, like gaslighting and guilt tripping, to more covert methods of persuasion. It's designed to play on human emotions, fears, and desires, making people act in ways they wouldn't naturally choose. And the worst part? You might have already fallen for these techniques without even knowing it. Why is it important to understand dark psychology? Because in today's world, influence equals power. Whether it's a boss at work, a friend in a conversation, or an ad trying to sell you something, those who know how to manipulate others can control the situation. Understanding these tactics not only makes you more aware of when someone is trying to manipulate you, but also empowers you to take control of your own decisions. In the next few minutes, we'll reveal some of the most common tactics of dark psychology. From emotional manipulation to covert persuasion, these tricks are being used everywhere. By the end, you'll know how to spot these techniques and, more importantly, how to protect yourself from falling into their traps. Prepare yourself to see the world in a whole new way, where influence is a weapon and awareness is your defense. The foundations of dark psychology. Dark psychology is built on the principle of psychological manipulation, an insidious tactic used by those who seek to control others by exploiting their emotional and mental vulnerabilities. At its core, dark psychology is not just about persuasion. It's about wielding influence in ways that bend someone's thoughts, behaviors, and decisions to align with the manipulator's goals, often without the person realizing it. It plays on our most basic human emotions, fear, desire, trust, and takes advantage of these to subtly shift power dynamics. The principle of psychological manipulation. Psychological manipulation works by targeting our psychological weak spots. It could be fear, the need for acceptance, or even self-doubt. Manipulators master the art of identifying these weak points and then use them as levers to control actions or thoughts. They understand that human beings are wired to react to emotional triggers, and they exploit these reactions. The objective is always the same: to steer behavior, control outcomes, and mold perceptions to their advantage. One of the most common tactics manipulators rely on is fear. Whether it's fear of loss, failure, or judgment, fear is one of the most powerful motivators in human psychology. Manipulators create scenarios that evoke fear to force people into submission or compliance. For example, a person might imply that you'll lose their approval or face significant consequences unless you act a certain way. This taps into the deeply ingrained human desire to avoid pain or punishment and influences behavior accordingly. Gaslighting. A classic example. Consider gaslighting, a prime example of dark psychological manipulation. Gaslighting involves making someone question their own reality, memory, or perception, which causes them to doubt themselves over time. A manipulator might tell you, "I never said that," or "You're overreacting," repeatedly dismissing your experiences and making you question your own judgment. Over time, this erodes your confidence and makes you dependent on the manipulator for clarity. It's a subtle form of control that often leaves the victim feeling confused and disoriented, unable to trust their own mind. Imagine a friend or partner subtly twisting your words in arguments, making you question your recollection of events. Over time, you begin to feel unsure about your memory and judgment, giving the manipulator more control over the narrative. Gaslighting is not just about disagreement. It's a calculated attempt to undermine someone's confidence, leaving them unsure of their reality. Fear as a manipulator's weapon. Fear is central to dark psychology because it's such a primal emotion. Think about how much of human behavior is shaped by the need to avoid fear. Manipulators are acutely aware of this and use fear to their advantage. They'll make someone fear the consequences of disagreeing or going against them. A boss might imply that your job is on the line unless you meet impossible demands. A friend might use social exclusion as a threat to make you behave in a way that pleases them. In both cases, the manipulator isn't directly forcing you to act, but the fear of losing something important, whether it's your job, reputation, or social standing, pushes you to comply. The emotional trap manipulators often position themselves as the source of relief from the very fears they instill. After all, if they can make you feel afraid, they can also present themselves as the solution. This creates a toxic loop where the victim becomes emotionally dependent on the manipulator, deepening the psychological trap. But once you understand how manipulation works, you begin to see the signs and recognize the tactics for what they are: deliberate attempts to control. As we delve deeper, we'll explore more tools in the manipulator's toolkit. But what happens when these tactics go unnoticed? Can they truly control someone's behavior without their knowledge? Let's explore further. Gaslighting. Warping reality. Gaslighting is a psychological manipulation tactic where the manipulator distorts someone's perception of reality to make them question their own memory, judgment, or sanity. It's a subtle and dangerous form of emotional abuse that leaves the victim doubting their experiences and becoming more dependent on the manipulator for clarity. Imagine being in a relationship where every time you recall a conversation, the other person insists, "I never said that," or "You're overreacting." Over time, you begin to question your own memory, wondering if you're truly misremembering events. This constant undermining is not accidental. It's a deliberate strategy to make you second-guess yourself, ultimately allowing the manipulator to gain control over your thoughts and behavior. Ever argued with someone and wondered if you're the crazy one? That's gaslighting in action. By making you doubt your perceptions, manipulators create a reality where they hold all the power and leave you disoriented, relying on them to set the record straight. But gaslighting is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to manipulation. It's one of many tools manipulators use to exert control. Now that we've seen how reality can be twisted, let's dive into another powerful weapon used by those who seek control: emotional manipulation. The foot-in-the-door technique. The foot-in-the-door technique is a subtle but highly effective form of gradual persuasion. It operates on the principle that if you can get someone to agree to a small request, they're more likely to agree to a larger, more significant request later on. This method works by easing a person into compliance, slowly lowering their defenses with seemingly harmless asks. For example, think of telemarketers or scam emails. They often start with something innocuous, like asking if you can answer a quick survey. Once they have your attention and some degree of trust, they escalate to a bigger request, such as buying a product or sharing personal information. The small initial step creates a psychological momentum that makes it harder to refuse the next step. Ever wonder how you went from lending a pen to helping someone move an entire couch? That's the foot-in-the-door technique in action. You've already committed to something small, and turning down the next bigger request feels inconsistent with your initial cooperation. This technique highlights how manipulators exploit the natural human tendency to maintain consistency in actions. By getting you to agree incrementally, they trap you into larger commitments. Next, we'll uncover another manipulative strategy: the power of emotional manipulation. Cliffhanger: emotional manipulation. If you thought gradual persuasion was sneaky, just wait. The real power of dark psychology lies in emotional manipulation, where manipulators tap into your deepest feelings, fear, guilt, or love, to control your actions. They twist your emotions in ways you might not even realize until it's too late. But how do they do it? In the next section, we'll dive into the art of emotional manipulation and reveal how master manipulators play with your heart and mind to get what they want. Are you ready to uncover their tactics? The power of guilt and obligation. Guilt is one of the most powerful tools in the manipulator's arsenal. It preys on our natural desire to avoid conflict and make others happy. Ever found yourself agreeing to something just because you felt bad about saying no? That's emotional manipulation at work. Manipulators skillfully use guilt to make you feel responsible for their feelings or problems. They'll say things like, "After all I've done for you, this is how you repay me," or, "I guess I'm just not important to you." These statements aren't just expressions of hurt. They're designed to make you feel indebted, creating a sense of obligation to comply with their demands. This tactic shows up in everyday life, from family members using guilt to get favors to friends manipulating situations to ensure you act in their favor. For example, a friend might constantly remind you of a past favor they did for you, subtly pressuring you to reciprocate, even when it's inconvenient or unfair. The key to recognizing this form of manipulation is understanding that while feelings of guilt are natural, you are not responsible for someone else's emotions. Once you grasp that, you can protect yourself from being controlled through guilt and obligation. But guilt is only one part of emotional manipulation. Next, let's uncover how manipulators use your deepest desires and insecurities to control your decisions. The reciprocity rule, giving to take. The rule of reciprocity is one of the oldest and most powerful principles in human psychology. When someone gives you something, a gift, a favor, or even a compliment, you feel an instinctive need to return the favor. It's a natural social behavior, designed to maintain balance in relationships. But manipulators often exploit this tendency for their own benefit. For example, think about salespeople handing out free samples at the grocery store. You didn't ask for it, but now that you've accepted something for free, you feel a subtle pressure to make a purchase. This is the reciprocity rule in action. Giving to take. You feel obligated to repay the kindness, even though the original gift wasn't something you sought out. The same tactic can show up in personal relationships. A person might go out of their way to do something kind for you, not because they genuinely care, but because they expect something in return. This puts you in a tricky position, one where you feel compelled to give back, even if the original act wasn't entirely welcome. Pattern interrupt. Next time someone offers you something for free, remember, nothing comes without strings. Reciprocity may seem innocent, but it can be used to trap you in a cycle of obligation. And when guilt and favors aren't enough to control someone, manipulators turn to even darker tactics. Get ready, because now we'll explore the more sinister methods they use to maintain control. In this video, we've explored the fascinating yet unsettling world of dark psychology and the manipulation tactics that can easily ensnare us. We discussed several key tricks used by manipulators, including gaslighting, where reality is distorted to make you doubt your own perceptions and feelings; emotional manipulation, which employs guilt, obligation, and fear to control others' actions and decisions; the reciprocity rule, which makes you feel obligated to return favors, even when they come with strings attached; using fear as a powerful weapon to paralyze or coerce, often seen in personal relationships, politics, and media. Finally, we examined how desire can be exploited, revealing the depths to which manipulators will go to achieve their goals. Understanding these tactics is crucial to recognizing when they are being used against you. Knowledge is power, and it can help you reclaim control over your life. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever encountered these tactics in your own life? How did you handle the situation? Your experiences can provide valuable insights for others navigating similar challenges. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. As we wrap up, remember this: the best way to fight manipulation is through knowledge. So, share this video with friends and family to help others protect themselves from the subtle yet potent influence of dark psychology. Together, we can build a community that stands strong against manipulation and encourages awareness. Stay vigilant and empowered,